So, how much money would it cost you if someone offered you, how much money can I give you for you to give up your freedoms? How much money would that be? Well, according to Patrick Mahomes, that amount is $503 million, dispersed over 10 years. Not all of it guaranteed, obviously. But that is the contract that Patrick Mahomes signed back in almost early June. So we have a player from the National Football League, Patrick Mahomes, who has signed a $503 million contract, which is, I think, the biggest contract that a football player has ever signed. I might be wrong on that. I might be wrong on that specific detail, but that number right there caught my attention. And I know this is not necessarily like brand new information, but this thought hit me. You know, it hit me while while I was driving home from work, and I was like, I need to make a video about this. Because essentially all of the all of the stories that I've heard on this contract are of how great this this news is for this particular player, Patrick Mahomes. And I get it. $503 million is a lot of money. And it's hard to say whether, if I was a player that as good as him, whether I would not sign that contract, given that it'd be a tremendous help to my family, and for the generations of people coming after me, my nephews, kids later on. So it's hard to say, but to Patrick Mahomes, it was enough. So that detail in itself is not the why I'm making this video. I really don't. I'm not gonna get into the specifics of the contract. I saw an article on it, but it's a lot of mumbo jumbo. That's not what interests me. What interests me is this article by Bleacher Report on July 7th. It says Patrick Mahomes says new $503 million contract prohibits jet skis, basketball, and more. In the quote in this article given to 610 Sports Radio, Patrick Mahomes says, I still don't think I'm allowed to play basketball. I'm sure baseball's not going to be allowed as well. I know there is a lot of them. They have things like jet skiing to, I don't know what all the things are. I read a lot of them. It's pretty much every physical activity you could possibly do. So where do you draw the line? Where do you distinguish what kind of life do you want to live? Given that $503 million is essentially freedom in itself, but for you to give up, playing basketball or doing any physical activity, but it's basically, like he says, pretty much every physical activity you could possibly do. How do you distinguish just monetary wealth from, I guess, just the wealth of time? I think I got that from Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Work Week. He talks about that. He gives two examples. One guy that makes $100K, works 7 days a week. Another guy that works $50K, and he works 3 days a week, right? And so his question is, who is richer? So naturally, you would think the guy that makes $100K is richer, right? Because he's the one that makes more money. But if you think about it, how would you be if you had to do your job every single day, nonstop, 7 days a week? Given that you will be compensated with more money, but how would that make you feel, right? I have a job that's pretty, pays pretty well, but it's very heavy, and I only work 3 days a week. So I don't know how it would feel if I had to do that same job for twice the money, essentially, right? But I have to work either 6 or 7 days a week. I wouldn't be able to do it. And if you put down the figures on paper at the end of the year, you would say this is how much you're going to make. But you have to work, let's say, 6 days out of the week, only 1 day off, or even 7 days out of the week. Would you do it? Or would you take the same amount of money you're making right now and take your 4 days off to do whatever you want? This goes to a quote by Tyler Durden in Fight Club, where he says, the things you own end up owning you, right? And in this case, in Patrick Mahomes' case, it's not necessarily things. Well, he can have a lot of things, right, with that money. But the money you have ends up owning you, right? And so that's my kind of dilemma that I had when I heard about this. The fact that he is not able to do certain things. And essentially, he's become this, this company, the Kansas City Chiefs or the NFL or the Kansas City Chiefs own him, essentially, right? They kind of, like the genie in Aladdin, they put these things around him, these wrist things, which enslaves him for essentially the next 10 years of his life. At least that's the way I look at it. You could easily argue that, $503 million is $503 million, over 10 years. Well, I think he has 2 more years left on his regular contract, and then the 10 years start. So essentially for 12 years, right? I don't know how old he is right now. Let's say he's 23 years old. So by the time he's 35 years old, he's bound to these legal constraints, legal chains, I would say. And he's indebted to his company, right? And so what does this mean for him, and how the next years of his life are going to play out, right? Just the fact, let's say that he wants to have a kid, right? And if he has a kid, in the, let's say later on this year or next year or whatever, by the time this kid is 7, 8, he won't be able to play basketball with him. He won't be able to take him on the jet skis. He won't be able to throw baseballs around with him, because it's bound by that contract, So that's why I asked at the beginning of the video, what would it take for you to give up your freedom? How much money would they have to pay you to give up your freedom? Essentially, like I said, you kind of can have what Patrick Mahomes has, to a lesser degree, but you could work, every day for the next 10 years and make a shitload of money, but there's no spending time with family. There's no enjoying your days off, even if it's to go play a pickup basketball game or whatever, right? Anything that involves being physically active, you can't do, and since I was listening to this this video for Friedrich Nietzsche. He talks about the last man, right? How since people no longer believe in religion, people are now struggling to have something to believe in, right? So you have all these factions of people believing in different things, right? Some people worship money. Some people worship fame. Some people worship, sex, all these things, right? So, in the absence of a God, of I guess of, I don't know, moral structure that was implemented by religion, which no longer exists, um, would worshiping money bring you that much closer to realizing who you really are, or being and living a fulfilled life, right? Um, so yeah, it's just a quick video that I wanted to talk about. Um, what would you do? You know, it's hard to say. It's a subject that is very, very, I guess, like, if unless you are in those shoes, then you don't know what you would do. But yeah, man. Uh, Patrick Mahomes, like I said, congrats to him for getting that contract. But I guess good luck. Good luck now that you've signed it, and hopefully you'll be able to fulfill your end of the bargain, and not break with your side, and end up playing basketball and you get hurt or whatever, and then you end up owing them millions of dollars. You know, given that he didn't specify, right, um, which activities he was able to do or not, or what's gonna happen if he ends up like breaking the contract, by getting hurt or playing something else, doing a physical activity. But yeah, so that's what I want to talk about, and yeah, how much money would it take for you to give up your freedom? So that's it. Catch you guys next time.